In the right to life debate, it's the latest in a series of cases over the last decade in Britain, including the Charlie Gard and Alfie Evans cases, that has caused outcry over parental rights and garnered international attention.
Alta Fixler was born 8 weeks prematurely in Manchester, England, and suffered severe brain damage at birth. Since then, the now 2-year-old has been receiving life-sustaining care. The doctors say Alta has no conscious awareness and that her brain injury will inevitably result in early death. Manchester University National Health Service Foundation Trust petitioned the British High Court for permission to remove the little girl's life support, arguing she had no quality of life and was experiencing pain. UK law allows the courts to decide the best interests of children in extreme medical cases, although multiple pediatric neurologists contested the hospital's position, insisting that Alta did not feel pain. Hospitals in Israel and the U.S. have offered to care for Alta, but the court ruled moving Alta to another hospital would be for no medical benefit and expose Alta to more pain. Alta's parents moved to the UK in 2014. They're Israeli citizens and Orthodox Hasidic Jews. Abraham Fixler is also a U.S. citizen. They say taking their daughter off of life support contradicts their Orthodox Jewish faith and Israeli law, which commands them to preserve human life and forbids actions to end it. Their legal team requested permission from the UK Supreme Court to move Alta to a hospital in Jerusalem and were denied, which prompted their move to ask the European Court of Human Rights to intervene. More than 40,000 people signed a petition in support of Alta's life. Politicians, clergymen, and human rights activists from around the world have raised their voices against the hospital's request to remove life support, including New York Senator Chuck Schumer, who worked to obtain a visa for Alta to come to the U.S. to receive care. In an urgent letter to the British ambassador to the U.S., Senator Schumer wrote, "I urge that all health decisions that are against the wishes of the family be suspended until the citizenship process is complete and Alta can travel to the U.S. with her U.S. citizen father, Mr. Abraham Fixler." New Jersey senators followed up with their own letters to the British ambassador, and 10 Republican senators have also written to President Biden, urging him to advocate on behalf of the Fixler family. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin asked Prince Charles for help in caring for Alta as well. The hospital has stood firm in its position to remove all forms of life support, saying the High Court and now the Court of Appeals has agreed that very sadly it's in Alta's best interests for life-sustaining treatment to be withdrawn.
Joining me now to weigh in on this case is the Fixler's family spokesperson, Yossi Gostetner. Yossi, we realize these are hard moments for the Fixler family with the crushing news from the courts. How's the family holding up?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. It's obviously very, very difficult for the parents to process what has been happening over the last few weeks, where court after court in the UK as well as in Europe are essentially saying that parents do not have the right or understanding to decide what is the best interest of a child. Sadly, as it is the case in many appeals or cases that make it to the Supreme Court, they generally do not, interfere or overturn lower court cases, especially things that may be of greater news interest. Sometimes they don't want to get involved. So when one court after the other in the UK system is basically giving permission for the NHS, which oversees health policy in the UK, to discontinue the life of this 2.5-year-old, it is devastating. It basically means that at any time, the hospital can start the 72-hour clock to discontinue the care for Alta. Now, Alta as a person has grown physically since she was born. The court argues, the lower court in the UK argued, that moving Alta will cause pain. Now, medical professionals who know how to move someone from room to room within a medical facility in Manchester know how to do that.
That's right.
Yeah, know how to do that in a careful and delicate way, from a room to a medical flight, and from medical flight to an ambulance and into its facility here in the US or in the UK. So it's interesting reasoning to prohibit trying to care for Alta, especially that medical professionals in the US and in Israel are saying that she has the potential of recovering.
Right.
And parents, you know, whether on their own device or whether influenced by their religious teachings, have the right and responsibility to try to find the best care.
That's
And
right.
if
Yossi, this case
yeah,
brings
so,
up exactly that point of parental rights and religious freedom. Why is it that Alta's parents can't bring her home to the U.S. or to Israel for treatment? What's stopping them?
so because once a person is under medical care in the UK, my understanding is there isn't this thing of, you know, a person leaving a hospital against medical advice, the AMAs. You know, certainly adults in the US, they can do that. I'm not even sure how it works with children in the US, and may God, you know, protect me and my family from ever needing to figure this out. But the point being that since the medical system in the UK is more like the government has control, it's not just oversight, which is always good, you know, some oversight. It's like they have control, literal control on people's medical decisions, especially once the person is within a medical institution, and especially if it's the case of a child.
Right.
So she has been in this Manchester facility for 2.5 years. I don't think anyone credible would argue that a facility in Manchester, no offense to the professionalism of the staff, but nobody would think that a local institution in Manchester has the same capabilities as some of the experts and institutions here in the US or over in Israel. So when Alta is not even a UK citizen, although she was born there, but her citizenship was never processed, the parents are, you know, the father is Israeli and US, then essentially the government is telling someone who is not a citizen of the country, parents who have citizenship in other countries say, you cannot go.
Right.
Because we accept this and this medical opinion, which is strange and sad when you have different
international
opinions.
offers for help. Right. Let's talk about that, the international intervention. So last week you had 10 Republican senators who sent a letter offering care, saying that this was unjust. And now this week you have 8 Democrats who are raising their voices, saying that they want to protect Alta, that Alta deserves the right to live, that she's being denied her human rights. Yossi, why is this so important?
But the letter that Schumer sent this week was carbon copied to Tony Blinken, the Secretary of State.
Right.
So you basically have there a coalition of 18 senators, which would be 10 Republicans and 8 Democrats. It's not the typical, you know, it's not even the typical, you know, you said before, the right to life. It's when you have
it's bipartisan support, which is unusual to have anything bipartisan nowadays.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we didn't succeed in having bipartisan signatures on one letter, but when you have, you know, 10 on one party, 8 on the other in the Senate, putting the full weight behind it, I think a lot of senators are not necessarily, you know, pro-life, understand the basic concept of how of medical rights in the U.S., of parental rights in the U.S., of parents deciding, and if someone is a citizen of the U.S. and happens so to be living in the U.K. to make a medical decision, all right, as long if you want to make a decision as to what your country is supposed to do, fine, you know, do it. But to preclude the parents to try to go back to a country where the father is a citizen, either of Israel and the U.S., say you can't benefit of medical expertise. That's something which it crosses party lines.
It does, and it's a human rights issue, doing everything to save one life. Yossi, thank you so much for joining us and explaining this important case. We'll be watching and praying for Alta as this story continues.